Today I'm analyzing a Fibonacci roulette system with a twist. The theoretical system has a 98.7% win rate, but that's only if you actually stop on any win. And 30% of the time, that first $5 bet wins only $10. Most of us are not going to want to stop that quickly. That can be a very boring game. Instead, I programmed 100,000 bots so that they'll continue playing when they win. I think this is a little closer to reality because I just can't see most of us stopping when we get to that first $10 win. Let's watch a quick replay of one of the bot sessions, and then we're going to get into all kinds of data and see the characteristics of this system. This is a Fibonacci sequence, so we're starting off with a $5 bet.
Black.
All right, we get whacked with that one.
00 green.
And we're up to level 3, which is the $10 tier.
10 black.
Another loss. Now we're up to $15.
13 black.
And we win. So we win $30 on that 15. That means we're going to reset back to the $5 level.
10 black. 19 red.
Another win. We're $15 in profit at this point.
15 black. 25 red. 1 red. 7 red. 0 green.
All right, a couple losses have now put us into negative territory. Our profit is down $10.
21 red.
We win at the $25 level. We win $50, brings us back into profit, $40 of profit.
29 black. 28 black. 9 red. 13 black. 14 red.
So that's essentially the pattern. I'm going to fast forward a little bit so we can kind of see what happens when we get a little further on. Now we're at spin 49. We're at the $65 level because we've lost a couple times.
18 red.
And the bot wins $130 back into profit, resetting back at the $5.
33 black. 2 black. 36 red. 26 black. 5 red. 12 red.
Ooh. Back to the $65 level.
3 red.
Now we're up to 105.
9 red. 32 red.
And we're back in negative territory at this point. We're at spin 59. Our maximum spin is going to be 60. So that's all we have to get back the money. $275.
8 black.
And it loses. So we're at spin 60 and we're at the maximum tier. $445 on the table. Profit is negative $515.
22 black.
And the 22 means we win. We win $890 off that $445 bet. Profit is back up to $375. Now, of course, this is just one session, but what we really want to know is how do 100,000 bots do over all of their sessions? And we're going to see that in the report next. So here's the simulation report. There's 40 pages of data here, so I can't cover everything in this video. But if you do want to go deeper, you can read this report and all my other reports at thinktank.dicedata.info. This strategy is going to win 98.7% of the time if you stop on any win. But when you continue playing, you're putting more money at risk and the chances of winning is going to decrease. But look at this. This absolutely surprised me. The chance of decreasing doesn't go down that much. It's still 76.8% on a single zero wheel. That's pretty good. That's a very strong rating for this one. Only 23.2. That's less than 1 out of every 4 times you play this strategy, you're going to lose money. But what's more important is how often you lose is how much you could lose. And that's covered in the session profit and loss section. Typical outcome, 50% did better than this, 50% did worse, is a win of $230. Lucky bots won even more than that, $275. unlucky bots on a single zero wheel, they won $100. That's an unlucky outcome. So what that means really is 25% of the bots did worse than this. They won less than $100 or they lost money. Notice how that changes on the double zero wheel. Unlucky bots lose $80. Triple zero wheel, that's a big difference. The house edge really eats away at the profits there. $895 lost for those unlucky bots. And then when you get to very lucky, $375. The most that any bots won was about $650, and the most lost $1,160. Those are the bots that went all the way through their progression and they lost it all. This is the distribution of those. On the x-axis, we have the amount that was won and lost. On the y-axis, the percentage of the bots. You can see this hump here. These are the bots that lost most of their money. This is the area where the bots won, and this is the absolute max win. So you can see here, it lines up right with what we were looking at that $230 level is where most of the bots ended up winning. The profit and loss balance is very interesting here because this is a strategy that wins frequently, but it leads to larger losses. We're going to see this throughout the report. When you lose, you can lose quite a bit of money with the strategy, but when you win, you're not able to win as much as you lose when you lose. We can really see this in the profit and loss magnitude. And look at this. Median loss given a loss is $1,050, but the win is only $250. So there's a big difference in these two across all the wheel types. And what that means is that you're very likely to win, but you're not going to win a whole lot of money as compared to the rare chance that you lose. This table shows us the maximum tier that these bots made it to. Look at this. This is super interesting. One session, the maximum tier was tier 3. That's the $10 tier. So basically they were winning at that $5 level, at the second $5 level, and the $10 level, and just resetting and resetting all the way for 60 rolls. They never got beyond tier 3. 1 out of every 4 bots never got beyond tier 7. And 30% of the bots got to tier 11. So this is an interesting statistic if you are going to use this strategy. 30% of the time, it's very likely that you're going to get to tier 11. Now, hopefully you're going to win on tier 11, but 1 out of every 3 times, you're likely to get to that 11th tier. And at that point, you may really be sweating. Here are some of the typical sessions. So look at this. This is one of the typical bots, 95,925. Look at how they straddled zero. They had a couple losses and they were moving up the tiers in a couple points here. But they ended up with a respectable win. And this is a typical session, what you might expect if you played this. But look at the unluckies. So this one, they did all right for a while. And then that series of 11 losses brought them down to that maximum loss. Very lucky bots had similar. They had a flat kind of thing. Here, this one had a nice win at a certain tier, but then they got all the way down to the 11th tier and then won, and then had a very flat session after that. Betting power is another interesting one. For every $100 outlaid, the bots made about $220 in total bets. That's not great. It's not the best that we've seen because most of the wins, the wins are pretty small. So it doesn't mean that you're winning a bunch of money and being able to make a lot of bets after that using that recycled money. So it gets a limited 2-star rating. We're going to see that in the TrueScore a little bit later in the video. Volatility for this one is extreme. You saw in some of these charts, these are some very big swings. You can lose up to 11 times and then hopefully you're going to come back up and win, but extreme volatility as compared to most of the bets. The volatility swings about 350% of the average bet. Profit retention is one of the more interesting parts about this particular strategy, and that's partly because of the design. But look at this number, 73.8%, 73,000 bots were able to recover their money. And remember, this is about the way that the strategy is designed. It's a recovery strategy. As you lose, you're increasing the bets to be able to recover all your previous bets. So anywhere from 74 to 60, 69% were able to recover. About 1 out of every 5, up to 1 out of every 4 was giving back their money. So they were ending higher and they gave back their money. I'm going to show you a little bit more detail there, but let's look at the recovered first. These ones are pretty interesting. So look at this one, bought 59,039. This is the bot that recovered the most. Look at this. They immediately went down to that 11th tier and they recovered and they got all the way back up. They had a couple other bumps along the way, but look at this. They ended up in a decent amount of profit for this strategy. And you see this tendency happening here. Now, remember, these are the most extreme out of 100,000. So this isn't typical or anything, but it's super interesting to see how they recovered and how they were able to hang on to their winnings. Look at this one, was got to that level a couple times and was able to recover. So that was pretty interesting. I wonder what it would feel like for that bot to be on that kind of a wild ride. Profit given back is similar. So look at this one. This one started off down, recovered, did well for a while, went down again, recovered a second time, and then ended up losing all their money at the end before the end of the 60 rolls. And you can see this happened a few times. Again, these are the most extreme out of the 100,000 bots, so not typical results, but look at this. I just find it fascinating to see all the different possibilities and what could really happen if you played this strategy. So I also had the bots go back to the casino and play up to 500 times because I wanted to see how many of them would be in profit after these multiple casino visits, because we know that the house edge is going to eat away at those profits. Now, remember, after one visit, we saw this earlier, 76.8% on the single zero. After 10 visits, 44% are in profit. That starts really plummeting. After 100 visits, that goes down to 30% of the bots still being in profit. After 500 visits, 11.6, better than 1 out of 10 of the bots were able to stay in profit after 500 visits, which is actually fascinating to me. But what's also fascinating to me is these other numbers. Look at this double zero wheel. This is not a big difference here, right? 76.8 versus 74.1. But look how that house edge eats away at the profit over time. It falls to 37.3. Then it's at 13.8, less than half of what the single zero is doing after 100 visits. And after 500 visits, only 6 out of 1,000. Look at the triple zero, 71.6, still a respectable win rate, but look how fast it drops. By 20 visits, it's 24%, just 1 out of 4 chance. By 100 visits, it's 1 out of every 20. And by 500 visits, almost nothing. It's a rounding error. It's less than 1 out of every 1,000 bots is going to be in profit after 500 visits. Here's what the charts look like. So the blue area is the middle 90%, and the gray area is the full range. We can actually look at the numbers too, because they're pretty interesting. Look at the numbers after 500 visits. The bot that did the absolute best. Now, this is the best out of 100,000 that did the best over 500 visits, almost a $40,000 win. That's not typical. The typical is a $14,000 loss. The absolute worst outcome was $70,000 lost. Look how it changes when you get to the 000 wheel. The best win is only $14,000. Look at how different that is from $40,000. The worst one, $111,000 lost. Look at that. That's just insane to me. And typical, $46,000 lost. On the 000 wheel, $30,000 lost. Look at this, 14,000, 30,000 to 46,000. That's just crazy how adding those additional wheels is so much better for the casino, and it makes it so much harder for the players to stay in profit after multiple casino visits. It really eats away at those profits. The last thing I have for you today is the TrueScore report, roulette on the single zero wheel. Moderate house edge, that's 2.6%. That's what it came out to. Now the theoretical is 2.7%. This came in a little bit lower just because of the random variation that you have in simulations. Profit and loss balance, 5 stars. It wins frequently. It wins so frequently and occasionally has those larger losses. Volatility is very extreme on this one. Jackpot factor is capped. We talked about that earlier. You just can't win enough money. You can't even win enough money to recover one loss. So jackpot factor is capped. Betting power is limited, 2 stars there, mainly because you're not winning enough money to really stay in the game that much longer than you would otherwise. All the player ratings seem to be pretty low on this one. For bankroll, 985 is usually sufficient, 1140 always sufficient, and that's of course the design. By the time you get up to that 11th level, that's 1140, so that's what you're going to need to stay in the game. So that's all I have for you today. If you want to see how to change this strategy to get to a 98.7% win rate, check out this video. I'm going to see you over there in just a couple minutes.